She was just a poor girl working in the back of a noodle shop. He was a powerful CEO with a daughter who had stopped eating, smiling living. So how did these two strangers collide? And how did one humble act of kindness unravel a hidden past, ignite a custody war, and shake the walls of privilege? Was it fate that brought Isla Bennett into the life of Lily Calder, a little girl broken by abandonment and silence? Or was it the quiet strength of someone who had nothing to gain, but everything to give? Why did a mother walk away from her child, only to return years later demanding to reclaim what she once discarded? And what happens when love, not blood, becomes the real definition of family? This is not just a story about class, power, or wealth. It's about what makes someone a parent. It's about healing, trust, and the radical courage of staying when it's hardest to do so. So if you're ready for a story that will move your heart, challenge your thinking, and keep you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin. The wind swept down Hawthorne Avenue, carrying with it the scent of grilled garlic and soy. Amid the brick buildings and rushing passers-by, a tiny noodle cart stood beneath a flickering lamppost. A hand-painted sign read Fusion Yakisoba, made with soul. Isla Bennett stood behind her cart, flipping noodles on a griddle that hissed like a promise. Her apron was stained, her knuckles red from the cold, but she never stopped smiling. Every call of best yakisoba and silver pine came from deep within a hopeful chant in the face of exhaustion. She'd been there for 8 hours, and her tip jar held just over $15. Rent was due tomorrow. Special yakisoba crispy noodles, sweet garlic glaze, melted cheddar, $8. One bite, and your heart will thank you, she called, dancing on the balls of her feet, waving her sign at drivers waiting for the light to change. Most people ignored her, until she noticed a man. He stood across the street, dressed in a tailored wool coat and Italian shoes, holding something small and fragile in his arms. A little girl. The child's limbs hung limp, her skin pale, her eyes dull and unfocused. The man looked down at her, murmuring something Isla couldn't hear. They stepped closer. The man's stride was stiff, purposeful, but his expression was anything but confident. His face was drawn with panic, his jaw clenched as if bracing for heartbreak. "Please, Lily," he said, his voice cracking. "Sweetheart, just try. One bite." The girl turned her head into his chest. "I don't want to. Daddy," she whispered, barely audible. "Nothing tastes good anymore." Isla's stomach turned. She couldn't pretend she hadn't heard. She stepped out from behind the cart, wiping her hands on her apron. "What happened to her?" Isla asked gently, her tone full of compassion rather than curiosity. The man didn't answer at first. He looked like a man used to control of meetings, schedules, markets. But this broke him. "She hasn't eaten in 10 days, he finally said, his voice hoarse. "Doctors, specialists, nutritionists. She turns away from everything. I don't know what to do anymore. 10 days. Isla's heart thudded. "She's 5, he added, glancing down at the girl. "Her name is Lily." Isla knelt to Lily's level, careful not to startle her. "Hi there, Lily," she said with a soft smile. "Want to see a little magic?" Lily peeked up, her eyelids heavy. "Magic?" "Yep." Isla grinned. "My yakisoba isn't regular food. It's special. It chases sadness away. You want to watch it work?" Lily didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. That was enough. Isla turned back to the cart. With a flick of her wrist, she fired up the griddle. The sudden sizzle of noodles hitting hot metal made Lily's eyes widen, just a little. "First," Isla announced, We start with the magic noodles. She tossed them high, letting the steam swirl like smoke from a wizard's cauldron. Then we add the secret weapon colors. She chopped bright red peppers, green onions, and purple cabbage, tossing them in like confetti. But the most important ingredient, she whispered, glancing at Lily, is love. She made a show of sprinkling invisible glitter over the pan, twirling like a chef from a dream. Lily watched quietly, but with unmistakable curiosity. Then came the cheese, shredded sharp cheddar, melting into golden strings. The smell was incredible. Sweet, savory, warm, alive. Isla plated it carefully and held it out. Special yakisoba made with love. Just for you. Lily looked at the food, then at Isla, then back again. Her tiny hand reached for the fork. She hesitated, then took a bite. A pause. Then her eyes lit up like fireworks. She looked up at her father. "Daddy, it's really good." The man's knees almost buckled. In the next 5 minutes, Lily ate the entire plate. Isla refilled it, and she ate that too. By the end, the color had returned to her cheeks, and the dullness in her eyes had given way to something small, but radiant. Life. "I don't know what to say," the man stammered. "She hasn't smiled in weeks." "It's not just the food," Isla said quietly. "It's how it's made. Kids feel when something's real, when it's made with care." He opened his wallet, pulled out a crisp $50 bill, and tucked it into her tip jar. "I'm Evan," he said. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Then he helped Lily down. The girl turned, still clutching her fork. "She cooks like Mommy used to," she said to her father. Isla saw it immediately, the way his face went pale, the way his hand tightened just slightly around Lily's. "Let's go," Evan murmured, his voice suddenly distant. They walked away, leaving Isla alone with the scent of sizzling noodles and a heart that beat strangely fast. She didn't know why, but something had just changed, and she knew this wasn't the last time she'd see them. The next morning, the sun hadn't fully risen when Isla Bennett wheeled her food cart back to Hawthorne Avenue. The streets were quieter than usual, the air carrying a damp chill. She hadn't slept much, not because of the cold or the ache in her back, but because of that little girl with the pale cheeks and what she said. "She cooks like Mommy used to." Isla shook the thought off as she opened her cart, prepped the grill, and lit the burner. Rent had been paid thanks to that $50 tip, but she had only $2 left in her pocket. It would buy barely enough ingredients for the day's prep. As she cracked the first egg into the batter, she heard footsteps, urgent ones. Miss, she turned. Evan Calder was running toward her, tie askew, his hair wind-tousled, carrying Lily in his arms again. "Thank God you're here," he said, breathless. "I didn't know where else to go." Isla blinked. "She's not eating again." Evan looked at her, his face hollow. "She refused everything this morning. Cereal, toast, fruit." She kept saying, "I want the noodles from the magic lady." Isla knelt to Lily's level again. The girl looked at her with faint recognition, but her shoulders were slumped, her small mouth downturned. "Hi, Princess," Isla said softly. "You hungry?" Lily nodded once. "If you make it." That was all Isla needed to hear. She turned to the cart, heart racing not just with urgency, but something deeper. A strange pressure she didn't understand yet. As the grill sizzled, she glanced sideways at Evan. He looked like a man unraveling. "You haven't eaten either." "Have you?" she asked. He gave a short laugh. "Didn't have the appetite." "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't. She stirred the noodles slowly. "You've got the shoes of a Wall Street executive and the face of a man who's lost everything." That made him pause. "I own a company," he said quietly. "Caldera Systems." Idla nearly dropped the spatula. "The Caldera? The tech giant?" He nodded. "But none of it matters if Lily—" His voice broke off. "She's all I care about." Lily finished her plate within minutes again. Her color improved. Her fingers moved faster, and she even cracked a small smile when Isla gave her a heart-shaped cucumber. Evan watched with the awe of someone witnessing a miracle in real time. "I don't know what you're doing," he said softly, "but you're the only one who's been able to reach her." Isla packed up the last of the food and poured water into Lily's thermos. "She's just scared," she said. "And kids are like plants. They need light, love, consistency, not chefs with Michelin stars." Evan was silent for a long moment. Then he looked Isla directly in the eye. "Come with us." Isla froze. "Excuse me, I want you to be her personal cook. Live in our house. Be there for her. She trusts you. I sell noodles on a sidewalk, and they're the only thing my daughter will eat." Isla stared at him. "You could hire Gordon Ramsay, or someone with a food channel. Why me? Because she eats your food, and because she smiles when she sees you." Evan stepped closer. "I'll pay you $50,000 a month. Room, board, everything included." She gasped. That was more than she made in 2 years combined. But Isla didn't answer. Her mind raced. Her mother was sick at home, relying on her for medicine. Rent was always late. Meals were skipped. And yet, what does this man really want from me, she wondered. Am I walking into a trap or into something I was meant for? "Why me?" she asked again, quieter this time. Evan crouched beside Lily, who was now playing with the edge of Isla's napkin holder. "Because you're the only person who's made my daughter feel safe in weeks. That's priceless to me." Lily looked up suddenly, wrapped her tiny arms around Isla's leg, and whispered, "Please come live with us." Isla's breath caught. She looked from the girl to her father and back again. Her whole life had been about surviving, but this was the first time she'd been asked to stay. "All right," she said softly. "I'll come." Evan let out a long, shaking exhale. "Can you start today?" "Today. Lunch is in 2 hours. I've got a critical meeting I can't miss." Isla looked at her worn food cart, then at the luxury black sedan parked behind him, and then at Lily smiling for the first time all morning. She nodded. "Let's go." The Calder estate didn't look like a house. It looked like a world apart. As the gates opened with a soft electronic hum, Isla Bennett sat stiffly in the back seat, watching manicured hedges unfurl into a vast green lawn. Beyond that stood a 3-story modern mansion, all sleek glass, sharp angles, and sterile beauty. It was stunning, and yet, it felt cold. "This is where you live, Isla," whispered to Lily, who sat beside her, holding her backpack like a stuffed animal. Lily nodded, resting her head on Isla's shoulder. The car stopped. A uniformed driver opened the door. Evan Calder stepped out first and offered Isla a hand, not out of chivalry, she thought, but because she looked like she might bolt. Inside, the home was quiet. No photos on the walls, no personal clutter, not even the smell of cooking or lived-in warmth. Only the faint scent of linen spray and new furniture. Lily tugged Isla's hand. "Want to see my room?" They climbed a long staircase that spiraled up to the second floor. Lily pushed open a white double door. Isla stopped in the doorway. The room was fit for a princess. A canopy bed with golden tassels, a walk-in closet full of pastel dresses, bookshelves lined with fairy tales, a telescope pointed at the bay window. But something was missing. Isla stepped inside. Her eyes scanned every wall. There were no pictures of Lily with her mom, no family photos, no smiling portraits of birthdays or beach days, not even one framed moment of laughter. "Where are the pictures of your mommy?" Isla asked gently. Lily sat cross-legged on the bed, hugging a bear to her chest. "Daddy put them away. Why, he said it hurts too much to look at them." Isla felt something twist inside her. That night, after Lily was tucked in, Evan found Isla in the kitchen. She'd unpacked her small duffel and was trying to familiarize herself with the space, though kitchen seemed the wrong word. It was a chef's dream: marble counters, 5 ovens, 2 wine fridges, and appliances she couldn't even name. "I hope it's not too much," Evan said, watching her trace the edge of the stove. "It's beautiful," she said honestly, "but it doesn't feel like a home." He looked away. "It hasn't in a long time." They stood in silence. Outside, rain began to fall softly against the windows. "Evan," Isla said, "I don't mean to pry, but Lily said you put all the pictures away." His jaw clenched. "She's 5," Isla continued gently, "but she remembers things, important things, like her mom." He didn't answer. That night, Isla couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too polished. She wandered downstairs for a glass of water. As she passed the hallway leading to Evan's home office, she paused. The door was slightly ajar. She heard soft, muffled sobs. She stepped closer, quietly, inside. Evan sat behind his massive oak desk. His head was in his hands. Before him was a framed photograph. It showed a woman with cascading blonde hair holding baby Lily, both of them smiling in the golden light of some long-gone summer. "Celeste," Evan whispered, "why did you leave?" He didn't see Isla watching. She stepped away silently, heart pounding. The mother hadn't died. She'd left. The next morning, Isla made Lily her favorite yakisoba with heart-shaped veggies. The girl devoured every bite and asked for seconds. Evan, bleary-eyed and quiet, watched them from the kitchen doorway. 3 full meals, Isla said later, proud. Evan closed his eyes in relief. "You're a miracle." That afternoon, he gave her a tour of the house. Every room was pristine, every corner efficient, until they reached a plain white door on the second floor. Evan stopped. "Never open this room," he said. "Why not?" "It was supposed to be a nursery. For Lily's baby brother." Isla froze. "But Lily's 5. Evan's voice dropped. "He was never born." They stood in silence. "What happened to Lily's mother?" Isla asked, her tone barely above a whisper. Evan's entire body went rigid. He didn't turn around. "She died giving birth to Lily," he said flatly. "I don't like to talk about it." He walked away before she could say anything else. But Isla knew. He was lying. It didn't take long for Isla Bennett to settle into a rhythm at the Calder estate. Every morning, she was up before the sun, warming the kitchen with the smell of sweet soy and toasted garlic. Lily padded down the stairs half awake, her little feet tapping across the marble floor. The moment she saw Isla, her eyes lit up. It was always the same. "Auntie Isla, can we do heart noodles today?" "Only if you're extra hungry," Isla would reply, already pulling out the shaped cutters. By the end of the first week, Lily was eating 3 full meals a day. She laughed more, slept better, ran through the backyard with her shoes untied and hair flying in the wind. Evan Calder watched from the upstairs balcony one evening as his daughter rolled through the grass, giggling, Isla chasing after her with a toy watering can. He rubbed the back of his neck, a smile tugging at the edge of his mouth for the first time in weeks, maybe months, that night, after Lily went to bed. Evan joined Isla in the kitchen. She was wiping down the counters. The sleeves of her sweater rolled to her elbows. Her hair was tied back in a loose knot, flour dusting her cheek like she belonged in this house. "Would you sit for a moment?" Evan asked. Isla hesitated, then nodded. They sat across from each other, the kitchen now dimly lit, warm. "I've been thinking a lot lately," Evan began, clasping his hands, "about how things have changed since you got here. I haven't poisoned anyone yet." "That's a good sign," Isla joked. Evan smiled. "That's one way to measure success, but I mean it, Isla. You've done more for Lily in a week than any therapist, chef, or specialist in the past year." Isla looked down. She just needed someone to really see her. He paused, then leaned forward slightly. "I want to offer you something more." Her brow furrowed. "I want you to work at Caldera Systems. What I need someone like you in my office. Not just for Lily, for the company." Isla sat back, stunned. "Evan, I'm not a corporate anything. I sell street food. You were studying accounting. Weren't you?" Isla froze. He continued gently. "I saw your resume when we did a background check. You made it to your final semester before dropping out." She exhaled slowly. "My mom got sick. Medical bills piled up. I left school to work, and now you're here, saving a company one bowl of noodles at a time." "I don't have a degree," Isla said, looking away. "But you have the instincts," Evan said, "and the kind of clarity we need right now. Caldera's in trouble, Isla, and I trust your judgment." She looked at him. "What about Lily?" "That's the hard part," he admitted. "She'll need someone to cook for her during the day. But I'd like you to lead a project team for financial restructuring." Isla's mind raced. This was everything she'd walked away from years ago. An opportunity, a chance to use her brain, her voice, her worth. But she thought of Lily, the morning routine, the pancakes shaped like stars, the way she whispered, "You're like a mommy, but better." "I can't abandon her," Isla said softly. "I'm not asking you to," Evan replied. "We'll find a cook together, someone you can train, someone Lily can grow to trust." "Do you really think that's possible?" "I think Lily's stronger than either of us knows, and I think you deserve to be more than just a miracle in the kitchen." Silence fell between them, and then Isla asked the one question she'd been carrying. "Why me, Evan?" He met her eyes. "Because I see how she looks at you. Because you make her feel safe. And because you make me feel like maybe I haven't ruined everything." Isla's chest tightened. Before she could respond, a small voice echoed from upstairs Auntie Isla. Lily stood in her pajamas, clutching her blanket. "I had a bad dream." Isla rose instinctively and crossed the room. She scooped Lily into her arms and whispered, "You're safe, sweetheart. I've got you." As she carried the girl upstairs, Evan remained at the table, watching. That moment sealed it. The offer wasn't just about business. It was about building something real. By the second week, Isla Bennett had begun to feel something strange and unfamiliar, a sense of belonging. She wasn't used to silence that wasn't lonely, or rooms that weren't cold despite their size. Yet here she was in a mansion overlooking Silver Pine Bay, waking up to birdsong and the sound of a child calling out, "Isla, where's my rocket-shaped toast?" each morning. Lily bounced down the stairs as if her legs were made of light. Her eyes sparkled again. Her laugh filled the house like a wind chime caught in a summer breeze. And each night, Evan returned from work less weary, less guarded. He asked about Isla's day, joined them for dinner, sometimes stayed to read Lily a bedtime story. Other nights, he lingered longer in the kitchen, quietly helping Isla clean. But something still sat in the shadows of the house. A locked door. That plain, white door on the second floor. The one Evan had warned her never to open. The one that wasn't a nursery. The one with silence behind it too deep to ignore. It was a Friday afternoon when Isla found herself alone in the house. Lily was at her art class, and Evan was stuck in back-to-back investor meetings. The sun filtered through the tall windows, painting the floor in golden patches. She had planned to rest, maybe read. But as she walked down the second-floor hall to return a blanket to the linen closet, she stopped. There it was again. That door. She placed her palm against it. No warmth, no noise, no life behind it. Still her heartbeat quickened. She bent down and slowly, carefully, looked through the keyhole and gasped. It was not a baby's room. It was a woman's room. A large bed, half made, silk blouses thrown over an armchair, heels lined up along the baseboards, a vanity with a half-used perfume bottle, lipstick smudged on a glass, drawers slightly open, as if someone had left in a hurry. Isla stepped back, her hand trembling. He lied. That room wasn't abandoned out of grief. It was left in haste, left behind. She returned to her own room and sat down hard on the bed, her thoughts spinning. Was this Celeste's room? The woman in the photo? The one Evan claimed had died giving birth? But if she had, how did Lily remember her? How did Lily say she left? That night, Lily curled up next to Isla on the couch while they watched a cartoon. Her eyes blinked slower and slower until she laid her head on Isla's lap. "Tell me about your dream family," Isla whispered, brushing the girl's hair back. "I already have it," Lily mumbled. "You do?" "Yeah. Daddy. Me. You." Isla's breath caught. "You take care of me like Mommy used to," Lily said softly. "Half asleep. You make the house smell nice. You read stories and cook pancakes." She paused, then added, But Mommy left." "You stayed." Isla's fingers stilled in the girl's hair. "Do you remember when she left?" she asked gently. "She had red suitcases," Lily said, "and high heels. I remember her walking out the front door. Daddy said she went away because she was sick, but sick people don't pack shoes." Silence. Isla blinked back sudden tears. No child should have to carry that memory. Later that night, Isla passed Evan's office and saw the light under the door. She paused, knocked gently. "Come in," he said. She entered. He sat at his desk, sleeves rolled up, a half-finished scotch beside his laptop. "Hey," Isla said, "can I ask you something?" He looked up, guarded. "It's about Lily's mom." He stiffened instantly. "Why are you so obsessed with this?" he asked. Voice clipped. "I'm not obsessed," she said quietly. "I just want to understand. Because Lily remembers her, and what she says doesn't match your story." "She was very young," Evan muttered. "Memories get mixed up." "Not that mixed up," Isla said. "She remembers suitcases, high heels, her mom walking away." Evan stood up so quickly the chair screeched behind him. "Stop it." "Why won't you talk about it?" Isla pressed. "If she died, why lie about how why lock up that room like it's some haunted place? Because it hurts too damn much." "Okay." His voice cracked, then dropped. Because I lost someone who should have stayed, and because telling Lily the truth would wreck her. But what if she already knows the truth Isla whispered? Evan looked at her, truly looked at her, and in his eyes, Isla didn't see the mourning of a widower. She saw fear, shame, guilt, not grief. He sat back down, his fingers trembling slightly as he picked up the glass. I didn't know how to fix it, he admitted, so I buried it. Isla didn't push further. Not that night. But as she walked upstairs to check on Lily, she knew this story was only just beginning. She also knew whatever secret Evan was hiding, it was about to come out. And when it did, everything might change. It was the first Sunday since Isla Bennett had moved into the Calder estate. The house smelled like cinnamon and warm apples. Isla had baked Lily's favorite mini caramel apple pies with braided crusts, and the little girl had licked the sugar off her fingers as they cooled by the windowsill. Outside, wind rustled through the tall trees, sending golden leaves scattering across the driveway. It was a peaceful morning. One Isla had allowed herself to enjoy just for a moment, until a car pulled up, a sleek black sedan, its engine purring like a warning. Lily looked up from her coloring book. "That's not Daddy's car." Isla stood, suddenly uneasy. The front door opened with a soft click, but the silence that followed was loud. Isla stepped out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel just in time to see the woman standing in the foyer. Tall, beautiful, regal, wrapped in a crimson trench coat, blonde hair in waves, red lips flawless. Celeste Rainier. The woman Evan had told Isla was dead. And yet here she stood, alive, breathing, looking around like she still owned the place. "Excuse me," Isla said cautiously. Celeste turned slowly, eyes scanning Isla from head to toe. "And who might you be?" "I'll live here. I take care of Lily," Isla replied, trying to keep her voice even. Celeste's eyes narrowed. "Do you now?" she murmured, lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. At that moment, Lily came running around the corner. She stopped mid-run, stared. Her tiny hands dropped the toy in her grasp. Mommy Celeste crouched slowly, arms open. "Baby," she said softly. But Lily didn't move. Her lips trembled. "You left." Celeste blinked. "Sweetheart." You packed your shoes." The hallway fell silent. "I remember. You didn't even say goodbye." Celeste stood, her smile faltering. "I had to leave. I wasn't well. I thought your father explained." Lily turned and ran straight into Isla's arms. Isla knelt and held her tightly, eyes locked with Celeste's. She expected rage, defensiveness. Instead, Celeste looked annoyed, as if the reunion hadn't gone to plan. An hour later, Evan returned. When he stepped into the living room and saw Celeste standing near the fireplace, his expression dropped. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He simply said no. Celeste shrugged off her coat and draped it on the sofa. "Nice to see you, too." "Evan?" Lily peeked from behind Isla's leg. "You told me she died," Isla said, her voice sharp. "I did what I had to do," Evan replied. "To protect her." Celeste raised an eyebrow. From me, Evan ignored her and turned to Isla. "Let's go talk." "No," Isla interrupted. "Not until you tell her the truth." He glanced at Lily, who was now staring at both her parents like strangers. "Celeste left when Lily was 3. He said finally. "She didn't die. She walked out. Said motherhood wasn't for her. I was having a breakdown." Celeste snapped. "You make it sound like I vanished on purpose." "You did vanish on purpose," Evan shouted. "You took your passport, your jewelry, half my company shares, and disappeared to Florence for 2 years. Celeste crossed her arms. And you faked my death to the media. So don't pretend you're the hero. Isla stepped forward, hands shaking. You lied to your daughter. Both of you. Celeste looked her up and down again. And now this noodle girl gets to judge us. I may be a noodle girl, Isla said evenly, but I never abandoned a child. The room went still. Then Celeste smiled a dangerous, icy thing. I'm staying, she said, her voice sugary and sharp. I want to reclaim custody of Lily. Evan laughed bitterly. You don't get to walk in after years and play mother again. We'll see, Celeste said. Family court likes birth mothers. And I have a new lawyer. Brilliant woman. Just filed the papers yesterday. Lily looked up, confused and frightened. Do I have to go with her? No, Evan said. Yes, Celeste corrected. Isla stepped in. You don't just get to take her like some handbag you left behind. Celeste tilted her head. Funny, because by next week, I just might. And then she left, slamming the door behind her like thunder rolling through the house. That night, Evan sat at the dining table, staring into a glass of wine. She wasn't supposed to come back, he said. She's suing for custody, Isla replied, her voice low. She always wins. She knows how to twist people, and the law listens to money. You're forgetting something, Isla said. What Lily has a voice, and she remembers. He looked at her, almost surprised. And you think the court will listen to a child? No, Isla said. But they'll listen to a mother figure who's been here every single day, who has photos, drawings, school reports, who's built a home. Silence. Then Evan whispered, You'd do that for her. Isla looked up, heart pounding. I'd do anything for her. The house no longer felt safe. The soft light that once made the Calder estate feel like a home now cast long, uncertain shadows. Isla Bennett woke each morning with a knot in her stomach, listening for car engines, checking the windows for that black sedan. Celeste Rainier was back, and she wasn't bluffing. By Tuesday, a letter arrived from a high-profile law firm in Portland, stating that Celeste had filed for partial and eventually full custody of Lily Calder. She was demanding immediate visitation rights, child support compensation, and a psychological evaluation of Evan's household. It's war, Evan said flatly, tossing the envelope onto the kitchen counter. Lily, coloring at the table, looked up nervously. What's that nothing you need to worry about? Sweetheart, Isla said quickly, reaching over to cover the letter with a towel. But Lily wasn't a fool. She may have been only 5, but she'd already learned how to read the room. That night, Isla and Evan sat across from each other in the study, the smell of chamomile tea between them, but neither drinking it. We can fight this, Isla said. We have her school records, your full custody since she was 3, and statements from the nanny. Evan shook his head. Celeste has connections. She's clever, manipulative, and terrifying in court. She doesn't care about Lily. She just wants to win. She doesn't even know what Lily's favorite book is. She never cared to find out. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Isla leaned forward. Let me testify. Evan looked up. You'd do that. I'm not just her cook anymore. Evan, I'm family. I've put her to bed, kissed scraped knees, taught her to make pancakes. If they ask me under oath who's been a real mother, I won't even hesitate. There was a pause, one filled with a kind of unspoken gratitude, and something else Evan didn't dare name. 3 days later, they walked into the mediation room. The atmosphere was tense, the walls too beige, the chairs too stiff. Celeste sat on the far side in a tailored ivory suit, not a hair out of place, smiling like she'd already won. Across from her, Isla held Lily's hand, while Evan sat beside them, his jaw clenched. A mediator introduced herself. A child welfare advocate sat in the corner. Celeste leaned forward. "I'd like to begin," she said smoothly. "This child was taken from me under false pretenses. Her father lied to everyone, including our daughter, about my condition. I've recovered now. I deserve the right to rebuild my relationship with my child." The mediator turned to Evan. "She left," Evan said, his voice even. "No one forced her to go. She packed, vanished, and signed away custody rights through her lawyer." Celeste smirked. "Under duress. I was emotionally unstable." "And now you want to destabilize her again?" Isla said sharply. The room hushed. The advocate finally spoke. "Miss Bennett, what is your relationship to Lily?" Isla held Lily's small hand tighter. "I've lived with her for the past 2 months. I cook for her, care for her, attend parent-teacher meetings. She calls me her safe person. Not because I asked her to, but because I showed up." The advocate nodded. "And are you romantically involved with Mr. Calder?" Isla flushed. "No, but that doesn't change the love I have for his daughter." Celeste gave a condescending chuckle. "Is this some rags to riches fantasy for you?" Sweetheart Isla met her eyes calmly. "No, ma'am. It's a fight to protect a child you abandoned." Later that evening, Isla found herself in the kitchen alone. The house was dark, silent. Rain tapped against the windows. She stood by the sink, hands trembling. What if they believe her? What if the court gives her even a sliver of power again? Then a voice broke her thoughts. "You were brave today." Evan stood in the doorway, a tired smile on his face. "I didn't feel brave," Isla whispered. "Neither did I, but you still showed up." They stood there, staring at each other. Something passed between them, raw, unspoken. And then, Lily's footsteps echoed down the stairs. "Isla," she called, voice small. "I'm here, baby." Lily came into the kitchen, dragging her blanket. "Will they take me away?" Isla knelt and pulled her close. "No, sweetheart, not while I'm breathing." Evan knelt beside them. "Promise?" Lily asked. "I promise," Evan said. "We both do." The days blurred after the first court hearing, though no verdict had been made. Celeste Rainier's presence in Silver Pine became heavier, more invasive. Her lawyers filed motions daily requesting emergency evaluations, random drop-ins, supervised visitation, and even attempting to restrict Isla Bennett's contact with Lily. One afternoon, a social worker showed up unannounced at the Calder home. Lily had just spilled juice on her overalls, and Isla was in the middle of bathing the family dog, Max. It was chaos, which, to Celeste's attorney, meant neglect. By the end of the week, Isla found herself crying into a pillow late at night, muffling the sound so Lily wouldn't hear. She hadn't cried like this in years. She thought she was strong enough. She'd weathered poverty, her mother's death, quitting college, years of struggle, but now she was exhausted. Being a mother figure was different. It wasn't just love. It was pressure, fear, constant second-guessing, and guilt. What if I lose her? What if she goes back to that woman, and everything I gave her disappears? That night, Evan knocked gently on her bedroom door. She wiped her face quickly. "Come in." He stood awkwardly in the doorway. "Can I sit?" She nodded, folding her arms tight across her chest. "I know it's not fair," he said. "Everything she's doing. I thought I could outmaneuver her, but she's smarter than before. more ruthless. "She's not doing this for Lily," Isla whispered. "She's doing this for revenge." Evan looked down at his hands. "You said you wanted to protect Lily," Isla said, "but you're still hiding something." Evan flinched. "I know she didn't leave for Italy like she claimed. And I know you didn't file for full custody just because she walked out. What really happened, Evan?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood and walked to the window. The night was still, stars blurred behind fog. Finally, he spoke. "She hurt Lily." Isla stood up. "But she didn't strike her. Not with fists. But she screamed. Locked herself in her room for days. Wouldn't feed her. Blamed her for crying." He turned around, his face pale. "I came home once to find Lily alone. Celeste had gone to a spa for 2 days. No nanny. No food in the fridge. Just a 3-year-old on the floor with dry cereal." Isla's heart stopped. She said motherhood was suffocating, that she deserved to live, not be chained to a screaming kid. When I confronted her, she told me I could have custody if I never contacted her again. He looked at Isla. So I took it. And then I lied. To Lily. To the press. I said she died. Because I didn't want Lily to carry that kind of abandonment. Isla's eyes burned. "You thought that would protect her. It did. Until now." The next morning, Celeste appeared at Lily's school. She arrived unannounced with a bouquet of flowers and a small dog in a pink purse. The school called Evan immediately. By the time Isla got there, Lily was crying in the counselor's office, trembling. She said I'd live with her now. Lily sobbed. "She told my teacher she was my real mom and that you and Daddy were just temporary." Isla wrapped her arms around the girl. "She's wrong. You hear me? She's wrong." Lily hiccuped. "She said you're not even family." Isla swallowed hard. "Well, maybe I'm not by blood, but I'm yours, and you're mine." That night, Evan sat with Isla on the porch steps, shoulders tense. "I have to destroy her in court," he said, "and I need you to testify to what Lily said." Isla hesitated. "That would expose everything," she whispered. "Even the part where you lied." He nodded. "I know." Isla took a long breath. "Then we tell the truth. All of it." The next day, Isla stood before a family court judge. Her hands shook, but her voice did not. "I may not be her mother," she said, eyes steady, "but I am the one who made her feel like she mattered, who taught her to eat again, to laugh, to sleep without nightmares." She paused, looked at Celeste, seated across the courtroom, fuming. And no matter what blood says, love stays. When Isla Bennett stepped off the witness stand, the courtroom felt like it had exhaled. Her voice still echoed in the room. And no matter what blood says, love stays. But it was the silence afterward that struck deeper than any words. Even Celeste Rainier, poised in her flawless suit, didn't scoff. For once, she looked shaken. Judge Monroe thanked Isla and called for a recess. Evan reached for her hand as she returned to the bench beside him. His fingers were warm, but trembling. "You were incredible," he whispered. "I just told the truth." "Not everyone does that," he said, glancing across the room at Celeste. In the days following the hearing, cracks began to form in Celeste's porcelain-perfect life. A former nanny came forward, submitting a sworn statement about Celeste's behavior before her disappearance. Erratic moods, days without contact, tantrums in front of Lily. Another woman, an old friend from Celeste's modeling days, posted a social media video claiming Celeste only returned for money. Even Caldera Systems board members began questioning Evan about the stress the trial was putting on the company. Investors whispered about a potential scandal if Celeste got custody and went public. Evan, exhausted, considered stepping down temporarily. "You don't need to do that," Isla told him over breakfast, flipping Lily's pancakes. The truth is starting to speak louder than her show. "Maybe," Evan replied, "but her show is loud." One afternoon, Isla returned from the market to find the front door slightly ajar. "Hello," she called, stepping inside. No answer. She heard a faint clinking in the kitchen. When she turned the corner, Celeste was standing there, barefoot, sipping wine from one of Isla's tea mugs. "What are you doing in here?" Isla demanded, dropping her grocery bag. Celeste smirked. "Oh, relax. I used to live here. Remember, you don't anymore. You're not supposed to be here. You broke the restraining order." Celeste walked forward slowly, deliberately. "You really think you're going to win this?" she whispered. "You think one little speech makes you a mother. You're just a phase in his grieving, a warm body for his guilt." Isla stood her ground. "And you're what a comeback tour?" Celeste's face twisted. "You stole my child," she hissed. "No, you gave her away. I just caught her." They stared each other down. "You can lie in court all you want," Celeste said, low and furious. "But Lily is mine, and no court can erase that." "I'm not trying to erase you," Isla said. "I'm trying to protect her from the version of you that doesn't know how to love without hurting." Before Celeste could respond, a voice broke the tension. Mom Lily stood in the hallway. Isla turned. "Sweetheart, go back upstairs." But Lily didn't move. She looked at her biological mother, then at Isla, and then she ran, straight into Isla's arms. Celeste flinched like she'd been slapped. That evening, Evan sat with his legal team. The lead attorney leaned forward, adjusting her glasses. "If Celeste continues these unauthorized visits, we have grounds to press criminal charges. I don't want Lily dragged through another legal battle," Evan said. "Then we need to end this one. Soon." 2 nights later, Evan approached Isla as she sat curled on the porch, blanket around her shoulders. "You were right," he said, voice low, "about everything." Isla gave a tired smile. "That's a dangerous sentence." He sat beside her. "I used to think money could protect Lily, but it only built walls. You opened a window. You brought life back into this place." Isla looked at him. "And what happens when the trial's over?" He hesitated. "I don't know." "Yes, you do." He exhaled. "I want you to stay." Silence. "I want you with us, not just as Lily's caretaker, but as part of this family." Her heart skipped. "But what if she wins?" Isla asked. "Then we fight again." The final custody hearing arrived on a gray, cold Thursday. It felt like the whole town of Silver Pine held its breath in the packed courtroom. Isla Bennett sat quietly between Evan Calder and his daughter, Lily, their hands lightly interwoven. Celeste Rainier, pristine in a navy suit with gold cuffs, sat across the aisle with her attorney, radiating rehearsed confidence. But under the polished surface, she looked strained, too put together, too tense, as if she were trying to hold something together by sheer force. Judge Monroe, composed and direct, opened the day with a warning. "This is not a trial about image. It is about a child's well-being. We will not be swayed by theatrics or accusations not supported by evidence." Isla could feel Celeste's lawyer bristle beside her. Then, the witness stand was called. To everyone's surprise, it wasn't Isla. It wasn't Evan. It was Lily. The judge had approved a carefully supervised closed-room statement. The room cleared, except for the judge, child advocate, court recorder, and a therapist. Isla and Evan waited outside, pacing the hallway in silence. 15 minutes felt like hours. When Lily finally returned, she ran straight into Isla's arms. "Did I do okay?" she whispered. Isla knelt down, hugging her. "You did perfect." Back in court, the judge read Lily's testimony aloud for the record. I like when Isla makes silly voices while she reads. She makes me feel warm. My tummy hurts less when she's around. I don't want to leave her. I don't want to live with Mommy again. She left me before. I think she might do it again. The courtroom was still. Even Celeste didn't interrupt. Evan's throat moved as he swallowed hard, fighting emotion. Isla held Lily's hand tighter. Then it was Celeste's turn to speak. She stood with practiced poise. "I made mistakes," she began, her voice smooth, well-rehearsed. "But I've healed. I've rebuilt. And I deserve a second chance." "Why now?" the judge asked. Celeste smiled. "Because I'm finally strong enough to be the mother I should have been." "And can you explain the unauthorized visit to the school?" She blinked. "That was misunderstood." "And the video of you saying, 'I should have just had an assistant raise her,'" her lawyer whispered. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Finally, Evan spoke. He stood, voice steady. "I lied to protect Lily. I said her mother died because I was ashamed of the truth. But the truth is Celeste left willingly. She chose herself over our child." He looked at Celeste. "And maybe people deserve second chances. But not when a child has to be the cost." The judge took a recess before delivering the verdict. Outside, Isla sat on a bench with Lily on her lap. The child's eyes were heavy, her head resting on Isla's chest. Evan sat beside them, knees bouncing. "Whatever happens," he said softly, "I want you to know I'm proud of you." Isla looked at him, tears filling her eyes. "I've never had a real family before. You do now." When the judge returned, the air in the courtroom turned electric. After reviewing the evidence, testimony, and especially the voice of the child herself, this court awards full legal and physical custody of Lily Calder to her father, Evan Calder. Celeste exhaled sharply, stunned. The judge continued. "Visitation rights for the biological mother are denied indefinitely, pending psychological review and further court consideration." Silence. Then Lily whispered to Isla, "Can we go home now?" Isla nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, baby, we're going home." The car ride home was quiet, not tense, not tired. Just quiet in that rare, delicate way, the kind of quiet that comes after surviving something that tried to take everything. Isla Bennett sat in the back seat with Lily Calder asleep against her shoulder. The little girl still clutched her pink bunny, the one Isla had stitched ears back onto weeks ago. The sky outside shifted from steel gray to a soft lavender as they drove through the winding roads of silver pine. In the front seat, Evan Calder glanced at them through the mirror. He didn't say a word, but his grip on the wheel softened. That evening, Isla tucked Lily into bed, like always brushing her hair, turning on the moon-shaped nightlight, humming their bedtime song. But this time, Lily reached out just before her eyes closed. "Are you going to stay forever?" Isla hesitated. Then, simply, "If you want me to." Lily nodded. "I already picked where your room should be. The one across from mine. Daddy says it has better sunlight in the morning." Isla laughed softly. "Of course he did. Can we paint it purple?" "Yes, baby." Even the ceiling, Isla grinned. We'll need extra paint. Downstairs, Evan was waiting at the kitchen island, 2 mugs in front of him. Tea for her, coffee for him. They didn't need to speak at first. The silence between them had changed. It wasn't filled with doubt anymore. It was filled with possibility. You okay? He finally asked. Isla nodded, exhausted. But yes, you were amazing. I didn't feel amazing. You were. He paused, then added, You still are. Isla looked at him, tired eyes meeting his. I meant what I said in court. He continued, about wanting you to stay, not just for Lily. I know, Isla whispered. He took a breath. Do you want to stay? Not just in the house, but in the life, the chaos, the family. Isla looked around, the chipped ceramic mug, the sticky fridge door with Lily's drawings, the soft sound of wind outside. It wasn't perfect. It was real, and maybe that was better. I do, she said. Later that night, as the house fell into deep sleep, Isla stood by the window of her new room. Her room, the one across from Lily's, with the better sunlight. She looked up at the stars, not searching for a sign, just thankful. She had come into this house a stranger. She had stayed out of necessity. But now she stayed by choice. Meanwhile, across town, Celeste Rainier sat in a hotel suite, wine in one hand, her lawyer's voicemail echoing unanswered on the phone screen. She had lost. And worse, she knew why. She had loved herself more than the child, and that had cost her everything. Back at the Calder home, Isla whispered into the darkness. She's safe now, and somewhere in her bones, she finally felt it too. She was safe. She was home. 1 year later. The Calder home had changed, but not in the ways people might expect. There were still marble countertops and security gates, still sleek cars and quiet cooks in the kitchen. But now there were also children's shoes by the front door, paint stains on the stairwell wall, a dent in the fridge where Lily accidentally launched a soccer ball indoors, and purple butterflies stenciled on the ceiling of Isla's room. Because it was no longer Isla Bennett's room. It was their room. She and Evan Calder had married that past spring, not with fanfare, not with press coverage, but barefoot in the garden, under a tree Lily had decorated with paper flowers. Lily had insisted on being the flower girl and the officiant, declaring them husband and wife with a giggle and a handful of glitter. They had never looked back. Today, the house buzzed. Lily, now 6, was hosting a bake sale fundraiser with Isla's help for a local shelter Isla used to work at when she first arrived in Silver Pine. The same shelter that had once offered her hot meals and a temporary cot when no one else would. Now, she was their biggest donor. I want to make noodles, too, Lily declared, licking frosting off her cheek. Evan laughed. We're selling cupcakes. Honey, no one wants a spaghetti cupcake. I do, she said, arms crossed. Of course you do, Isla murmured, ruffling her hair. Later that evening, after the last brownie was sold and the neighbors had left, Evan found Isla on the back porch, legs curled under her, notebook in hand. What are you writing? She smiled without looking up. Just something for Lily. He sat beside her, sipping his tea. Can I see? Isla handed him the page. It read, To the little girl who taught me what bravery looks like. To the man who showed me that love doesn't have to start perfect to become something unshakable. And to the version of myself I thought I lost. Thank you for coming home. Evan swallowed hard. You still don't see it. Do you see what you're the one who saved us? The next morning, Isla took Lily to school, hand in hand. Another mother, standing by the gate, whispered to her friend as they passed. "That's her," she said. "The one from the custody case." The friend frowned. Didn't she just work in a noodle shop? Isla heard it, and smiled anyway, because that wasn't the insult they thought it was. It was her origin story. And Lily's. That night, after bedtime stories and 1,000 goodnight kisses, Lily poked her head out of her doorway one last time. Mom Isla turned. "Yeah?" Baby Lily grinned. "I think you're my favorite person." Isla's heart melted. "Good," she whispered, "because you're mine too." Across town, Celeste Rainier boarded a plane alone, designer suitcase in hand. Her latest boyfriend hadn't lasted. Her agents had stopped calling. But for once, there was no rage in her. Only a question she asked herself quietly. What would have happened if I'd stayed? She didn't know. And now, she never would. Back in the Calder home, Evan turned off the last of the lights and slipped into bed beside Isla. She rested her head on his chest. The house was quiet again. Not with emptiness, but peace. The kind that comes after a battle hard won. The kind that says this is the life we built. Not perfect, but ours. Not all battles are fought in courtrooms. Some are fought in bedtime stories, in small kitchens, in whispered promises to children who just want to feel safe. Ela Bennett didn't come with riches or titles. She came with consistency, with compassion, with the kind of love that shows up even when it's inconvenient, unrewarded, and unseen. And in the end, that was enough to change everything. This story is a reminder. Biology does not equal love. Money does not equal worth. And no one, no matter how powerful, has the right to treat people as disposable. It's also a warning about how easily society can look past those who care the most, and how often we praise appearances while ignoring what's truly real. But it's also a call to be the one who stays, the one who listens, the one who chooses kindness, even when no one's watching. If this story moved you, if it made you cry, smile, or even just think, please help us share it with others. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss stories that speak truth with heart. Because these stories matter, because you matter, and because sometimes the person who changes everything isn't the one with power, but the one with heart.